Welcome to the Communication Mastery Podcast with me, Mark Burlinson. We're tackling miscommunication with the power of understanding. We're growing our mastery of the foundation of teamwork and of all relationships. And so I want to ask you to help me spread the word about stronger, more effective communication by inviting some friends to listen along with you. Then discuss what you've learned and give me your feedback. What would you like to hear from us in future episodes so we can make this podcast even more effective? Thanks for joining me. Let's jump in. Welcome back. We often talk about communication in business, but again and again, when I work with a business team, I find the question comes up in one of the breaks or maybe in discussion at the end of the session. Does this work at home as well? And of course, the answer is yes, it does. And so I wanted to take an episode today to look at what happens when I take what I've learned in business through the communication IQ system, and when I take that home. How can I achieve communication mastery with those who are closest to me? And the first thing I want to say is that I've seen again and again that we often will have a work profile and a home profile. So the languages that come out first at work may not be the languages that come out first at home. It doesn't mean you have to take the profile twice, although you could do, and it could be valuable to do that. But even as you look at your own profile results, you can see, oh yeah, this language is one that comes out far more on the weekend or in the evenings than it does during the day at my workplace. Whereas these languages are ones that I'm pulling on much more regularly because of my job role or because of my relationships in the workplace. And so recognizing that you may well have a work profile and a home profile helps you to have increased self-awareness. And I've found with some of my clients that their work profile and home profile are very different. And in that case, it's valuable for them to make a conscious switch on maybe it's a journey or maybe it's just a moment between stopping work in the home office and stepping out into the living room. Whichever what applies to you, it's important to acknowledge that you're making a switch from one profile to another so that you're living out the truth of who you are in the setting you're stepping into, and vice versa. As you leave the home, you want to switch into, this is my work profile, this is my work toolkit, if you like. You're still using all 7 languages, but you're using them in a different blend. You're using them in different ways, depending on the setting. Context is so important with communication. And so when you're shifting contexts, it may well be that you have to switch into a whole different mindset or a whole different approach to be able to communicate in the way that's needed for what you're stepping into. But looking at the home now, the question I often ask my clients when they ask me the question, does this work at home as well, is how well do you understand each other, whatever the setting is? Maybe it's a married couple, maybe it's a whole family, maybe it's a broader community with neighbors as well. But how well do you understand each other? I said already, it may be worth taking a profile with your focus as you answer the questions on the home setting, rather than what we generally recommend of what is true of you most of the time in most settings. To look at it in that way can be very valuable. And also, if you have a significant other who hasn't taken a profile yet, it will be most valuable to both of you to actually understand each other more fully if you both take the profile. And to do that and then unpack it is very helpful. Sometimes there's conflict at home because you're both bringing your work profile back to the home, and actually that's causing unnecessary conflict because opposites often attract. And until you understand that, you can't turn your differences into strengths. The intent, of course, whenever you've got very different profiles, is that you be able to make strengths out of both being combined with understanding. But when we don't understand that, very often we're unintentionally draining each other's communication tanks and causing distress, and then we end up firing our distress flares at each other, and that just weakens the relationship even further. It doesn't have to be that way. Imagine what it would be like if you could truly be heard for how you're expressing yourself and be understood in that way. And also be able to do the same for those that you share a home with or that you share life outside of work with. Let me interrupt today's episode just for a moment to address small business owners, because the challenges of running a business are multiple, aren't they? There's all of the technology that you have to master. There's the staff turnover. There's hybrid and remote work. There's all kinds of different things that you have to consider every day. But sometimes that causes us to overlook the primary thing that really means that your business will succeed, and that is your people. Your most important asset is the people that are running your business alongside of you. And every one of them is different. And so that causes all kinds of potential for misunderstanding or miscommunication, tension in the team. And this is the core issue for small business owners today. It's to understand your people and then to maximize each one's impact and satisfaction in being part of your business. Communication IQ can really help with all of those issues and enable you as a business owner to be more relaxed about how fruitful and effective your team can be. So if it's been a year or more since your team thought about communication, reach out to me and let's see how I could help you put communication back at the center of your business goals so that you see the benefit right away. Now let's go back to the episode. And so that's why I developed Communication IQ for Couples. It's a kind of one-time package that then can be followed up with a regular check-in in order to apply the understandings of the Communication IQ system to whether it's a romantic relationship or it's to the dynamics within a family, so that you can really bring out the best in each other. Because that's the purpose of being a family, isn't it? And so very often there are insights to be gained from each one's communication styles. I'm thinking of a setting, and again, I'll sort of fudge the details to maintain innocence or maintain anonymity. But there was a family where I think mum was very much a planner, and dad was very much focused on action and achievement and making things right and better. But they had a son who was much stronger in the cognitive languages, particularly the contemplative, very philosophical, very deep. And he felt like he didn't fit in the family until I was able to do some work with him and show him the strengths and the passions and the benefits that that language can bring to the table. And I actually met that mum again at a meeting the other day, completely out of the blue, and she said there's such a difference in their family dynamic now because they understand that their son is wired differently than her and her husband, and they're able to really bring out the best in each other by valuing what each one brings. The son brings something to their family discussions and to their dynamics. This is a teenage son, so he's high school age, he's approaching adulthood, but he is now bringing what he has to offer into the family dynamic, and they're all benefiting because of it. So I want to encourage you, as you think about communication styles, take the time to assess through the profile, and you can do it from my website. Just go to the Get Started Here button on my website, or at markburlinson.com/discover. Get each person to take a profile, and then with the Communication IQ for Couples package, you can use it for families as well. We'd have 2 or 3 sessions together unpacking what that profile will tell you about how you can interact better, how you can avoid distressing each other unintentionally, and how to turn your differences into strengths. It's a great tool that many couples have benefited from, and I'd encourage you to do the same. Because if this doesn't work at home, then we're on the back foot at a disadvantage in every other relationship, aren't we? Let's get your home life thriving and flourishing because communication's effective. So reach out to me through my website. You can send me a message from there. Ask me about the Communication IQ for Couples package, and let's see this work at home just as much as it works in the workplace. That's it for this week. I'll see you back next week, and we'll talk a little more about how relationships affect our quality of life. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. It would mean a lot to me if you'd rate and review the podcast so it helps more listeners to find us. But also, would you give me your feedback on things you'd like to hear about in future episodes? And remember to share the episode with a friend if you see something that would benefit them as well. You can reach me with feedback through my website at markburlinson.com. Just click on the contact button and send me a message. I respond to everyone personally, and I really want to hear from you. So thank you again for listening, sharing, reviewing, and giving me your feedback.